comenzar.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this devotional. And as I always say, it's the most important word of the day. And these days are very special days because we are learning more about the words that Jesus said on the cross as we are on the eve of the Easter. And yes, all the events of Jesus' crucifixion and everything he went through can be found in the Gospels of Mark and Matthew. But in this devotion, I'm going to take the Gospel of Matthew to be studied on. And it says the verse. Pay attention, please. Matthew 27:46. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And to talk about this verse, I'd like to give a little summary of what happened to Jesus before so we can understand what happened later. And we can understand why Jesus said that. So the story goes like this. Jesus at the beginning was arrested. Some people didn't like Jesus because he was teaching things that made him uncomfortable. So they arrested him. And some of these leaders of the time didn't believe that Jesus was who he said he was. So they put him on the trial. They asked him some questions, trying to find a reason to punish him. And even though Jesus hadn't done anything wrong, the leaders decided that he should be punished. They chose a very painful punishment called crucifixion. And Jesus had to carry this big wooden cross through all the streets. And it was very heavy. He was very tired and he was hurt. When they reached the place where he was crucified, he was nailed to the cross, so the nails were hammered into his hand and feet, and he was lifted out on the cross. People mocked Jesus while he was on the cross. Some people made fun of him, saying mean things and laughing at him. And then a darkness covered the land. The sky turned black, almost like a nighttime, even though it was a daytime. And suddenly Jesus cried out to God. And this is when we get to Matthew 27:46, when he says, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? So he was feeling very alone and asking God why had forsaken him. So this is where we can realize something very special. The two natures of Jesus. In the first nature of Jesus, he's 100% God with all his greatness and power. While in the second nature, he's a totally human. And I believe that there is no other moment in human history where we could see someone being God but also being human at the same time. And sometimes we might not understand why Jesus said that phrase, my God, why have you forsaken me? As he knew why he was on the cross and he knew everything that was about to happen. He was God himself. He could have been even gotten off the cross. Yet, even while understanding his purpose, he says to the Father, why have you forsaken me? And it's precisely here that we can understand the Trinity. Jesus made clear his human side by feeling as he did at the moment. Desperate, crying out loudly. But at the same time, he knew he will arise again. So there was hope for him. There was hope for humanity. So even though Jesus suffered at the moment, the Father already had a purpose of his Son, a huge purpose. Although there wasn't an immediate answer in that moment of frustration and pain, God was working in silence, silently. That's why we can learn many things and lessons from this verse. And the first lesson is that sometimes we won't have the answers to all our suffering or questions in life at the moment that we would like to have. There will be situations in life where we will cry out to God asking for an answer to why all problems are happening. Why is this happening to me? Why can I have these or that? Why is there so much suffering in the world? Or why do I have to bear this illness? Why do I have to go through these financial problems? We ask why, and why. And we have to accept many times in life that no matter how much we ask God why these things happen, God may answer in silence. And here's a question for you. If God were to answer the whys, would it make you feel any better? Would it take away all the suffering that you are going through? So God can give you the answer to the whys, and still He will not be removed the pain, the struggle, and frustration that you are going through. But for this reason, we shouldn't confuse absence with silence. Because sometimes we think that since God doesn't answer our prayers or our questions, He's an absent God. But that's not true. Because God works silently behind the scenes to show us later the purpose in our lives. If I could show you how many times I've cried out to God or questioned so many things without understanding God's plans, only to later realize that God has always been there for me in my life to put me in a better place. Because the Lord is not an absent Lord or an absent God, but God, who works in many ways, is always there for us. So we need to understand that no type of frustration can overcome us, because God works in silence, as I repeat. So Jesus understands our pain. Jesus, like us, felt frustrated and went through difficult times. He faced all kinds of challenges and feelings, just like we do. But he always knew there was a reason for everything, and it will lead to something better. So if you are questioning your suffering, remember that God, in His silence, He's working for you because He has a better place prepared for you. And even if you don't have the answers right away, you will have them eventually, and you will realize that there's no greater love than His love for you. Thank you very much. Have a good day today.